say so initiate. The time of prophecy is upon us.
Welcome to FPOD Side Quests.
Hey guys, Bo from FPOD. Today I'm going to preview Dungeons & Dragons free basic rules. Now I said free. You can go to dungeonsanddragons.com, follow the links. You have all the basic rules to play Dungeons & Dragons for free off of the website. They have downloadable PDFs so you can put them on smart devices. I believe they have an actual link to a site that just has all of the rules right there, so you can just have the website open and click and do anything you want to. Have all the rules at your fingertips. And then I also believe they have downloadable printable versions of it, which if you're doing public play or you want to make sure that, you get that old school player in there and he doesn't like those newfangled digital devices, you slap a book in that fucker's hands. There you go, son. Done. Anyway, the book, whenever it's printed, it actually comes out to about 106 pages. It's going to cover character creation and playing the game. Everything you need is right there. Everything you need is in this book, but it's all basic. So you're not going to have a lot of the expanded information that you're going to receive in a book like the Player's Handbook, or possibly upcoming books that are going to specialize in classes and races and such. But as a primer, new people, young people, old veterans who want to give it a shot but they're kind of on the fence, man, the basic free rules, meat and potatoes, it's right in front of you. I already mentioned 106 pages. The book is broken into 3 parts. Step-by-step character creation is part 1. Playing the game is part 2. And part 3 is the rules for magic. Now, part 1, chapter 1, is step-by-step character creation. And they give you an example of how to create a character in there. This is just to kind of whet your appetite so you know what you're getting ready to get into. Chapter 2 is going to cover races. Now, you have your traditional elf, dwarf, halfling, and a human. Chapter 3 covers the basic 4 classes: the fighter, the cleric, the rogue, and the wizard. Now, in the gaming, in D&D, this is what they call the core 4. Once again, in the Player's Handbook, you're going to see other classes, you're going to see other races, and a lot of expansion on these basic rules. But as the basics go, the core 4, man, you can take any one of these races, combine them with a class, go ahead and get everything customized out on the character, and you can play it up to level 20, That's incredible, and I thank Wizards of the Coast for doing that. Making it free puts it in so many households. I got off on a tangent. You'll see. You'll hear me do that. I was talking about the classes and the races, but Chapter 4 is going to be about personality and backgrounds. Now, personality and backgrounds is something traditionally that a character or a player would just come up with on their own. And you can still do that, of course. I mean, everything's open at this stage. But they do have some tables you can roll on if you're old school and like to roll that shit out. You roll on a table and figure out, maybe what some of your personality traits are, flaws and bonds and weaknesses and such. And then you get to pick a background. And a background is just kind of like a template that gives a little more flavor to your character. Maybe you were a street urchin that grew up to be a thief or a pickpocket or something, or a soldier who retired and became an adventurer. They add a little bit of flavor, and you get a couple bonuses from it mechanically, which is also kind of nice. Chapter 5, it's just equipment. It's needed. It's there. Don't think you're gonna find stats and cost for really exotic shit. It's not gonna happen. It's your basic stuff, but essential, of course. Chapter 6, customization options. Now, this is going to go into, multi-classing. If you decide you want to play a elven fighter wizard, you could do something like that, and it has rules for that. And then it goes over some other things. What advantage and disadvantages, etc. I think it's something of that nature. Let me see here. It's going to go over hit dice, hit points, prereqs for the multi-classing and all that. It's going to explain experience points, feats, which are like special abilities and another specialization option your character has. You'll have to read it to understand it. Really, it's not hard to wrap your head around it. Let's see. Part 2 or Chapter 7 goes into playing the game. And this is going to give you just the basic meat and potatoes rules of how to conduct the mechanical side of adventuring in combat. In fact, Chapter 8 just talks about adventuring in general, which I think is kind of neat. It talks about different ability checks and, movements and time and speeds. It's going to go into more detail on things like vision and light, your environment, social interaction, things that you want to be mindful of whenever you're, really trying to make a very fun narrative game. And not just that, but the mechanical rules behind it. Chapter 9 goes into combat. It breaks it all down. Order of combat, initiative, how surprise works, what you can do on your turn. Let's see here. It's going to cover all your bits and pieces that you need to know. Hit points, dying, how to heal, the different things you can do, knocking people out, how cover works, how advantage and disadvantage works, which is a new mechanic to D&D. Ranged attacks, it's going to go into all these different actions that you can do, and they're very straightforward. In fact, if it helps with younger children and such, you might actually make like cards to explain what they can do on their turns mechanically, but then since they're younger, it's going to be intuitive to be narrative to them. So listen to what they want to do, and you can be like, oh, well, you want to actually do a specific action, and it's called an attack. So you could use that as a standard action and show them how it all works. It really, I think it's very, very straightforward, even for a younger crowd. Now, Part 3. Part 3 covers rules for magic, how magic works in the game system, for Divine, which is going to be like your cleric, and I think your druid and your Core 4, your cleric, is divine. Your wizard is arcane. Those are the types of magic they cast. It's going to go over those, break them down into specifics, and then you're going to find in chapter 3, or I'm sorry, part 3, chapter 10, the rules of magic is going to go over all that. Chapter 11 is actually going to be your spell lists. They're pretty straightforward. Once again, if you really get into it, I would advise, I believe Gale Force 9 is the company, and they actually sell spell cards for the game. And it's not needed, but the accessory really does speed up gameplay whenever it comes to making decisions and what your spells do. Traditionally, there's a whole lot of sitting around cracking books or tablets, smartphones, trying to figure out exactly what something does, or contesting a rule. Well, With the spell cards, it's right in front of you. I know it's a little gimmicky, but it's been proven at my game table that they work. Gale Force 9's kicking them out for the different classes. You'll check all those out on your own if you'd like to. Now, I want to go ahead and wrap this up, and the last part I want to talk about is conditions. Conditions are essential to the game because a lot of your attacks and your abilities, things that you can do, they're going to be applying a certain condition. And give me 1 second. I'm actually going to crack the book open for this part and take a look at it and give you a good example of them. All right, in the appendix, the conditions: blinded, charmed, deafened, frightened, grappled, incapacitated, invisible, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, prone, restrained, stunned, and unconscious. Now, I think it's important to make sure that you're mindful in using these whenever they can fit, because they might seem like penalties, but if you use them regularly, like for example, deafened, somebody in your party, if they throw a certain spell, like for example one called Thunder Wave, if you're all close by, maybe you're temporarily deafened for one turn, so a deafened creature can't hear and automatically fails an ability check that requires the use of hearing. It just makes sense. And I also think it makes sense to have condition cards or little chits or some way to designate these different, poisoned effects or prone or restrained or this person's stunned. Give a person, a kid, or anybody really, any player likes a fizz rep. You give them this token that says they're poisoned, and then they know they get to roll a saving throw to get that taken care of immediately, or they know that they have to be mindful that they're poisoned, or they have a current condition. Anywho, that's really what I have for today. Like I said, you can find this at DungeonsandDragons.com under the free basic rules. I can't express how excited I was when I found out the rules were free, and I can't stress enough how I think anybody should have a copy of this who wants to interest anybody in it. You just have this damn thing on a smart device, or you have your hardback copy of it sitting in the game shop and you hand it to some dude who goes, "Oh man, that's the 5th ed, blah blah blah." Nah, fuck that, man. Here, look at this. It doesn't suck. Anyway, guys, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Once again, check out the FPOD podcast. We got some good stuff going. We're in the fledgling stages of these podcasts, but I really think that we have a lot of potential. You hear this and you like it, hit me up. Let me know what you think. Shoot back some ideas, and from there, have a good day, guys. Bye-bye.
This has been an FPOD podcast production. If you didn't enjoy this episode, it's probably your own fucking fault.